There are two things that almost every single Battlegrounds game has in common. One, they're shit. Two, they're based off of anime series, mostly series that involves fighting with melee or magic combat. But this common trope would be broken with the release of a handful of videos, showing an ultimate move for a game called Cyberpunk Battlegrounds, a game that's based off of Cyberpunk Edge Runners that also takes place in the Cyberpunk game, you know, that game. But these videos were uploaded 6 months ago. Where is the game? Well, today we're going to be finding out what happened to Soul's wrong thing, Cyberpunk Battlegrounds. Since this game is not playable, we're gonna have to see what it looked like through the sneak peeks channel. The beginning of the sneak peeks channel showed stuff like David Sandevistan. His M1s actually have a finisher for the uppercut variant, moves like Mantis Strike, which is just a Mantis Blade, a gun move that looks way too similar to Sorcerer Battlegrounds, and a parry move that's ripped straight out of the anime where he punches that blue haired dude. A pretty good start. These moves do look really good, and stuff like the M1 uppercut finisher is pretty unique since Slayer's Battlegrounds is the only game I know that has this. Things would only get better since we got stuff like David's jacket, Main's glasses and scarf, a move called Hyperspeed Annihilation, which looks like an ultimate move since it plays music while having a really long animation, the awakening animation for David showing your character going Cyber Psycho, and Cybernetic Eclipse, which is the move that I showed in the beginning of this video. It's a long cutscene move that looks really cool since it references a scene where David is freaking out, but it adds its own spin with the punch at the end. So up to this point, we were getting a lot of leaks showing that the game was getting closer to release. The next sneak peek came a month after the Cybernetic Eclipse one, and it showed a model of Adam Smasher giving a thumbs up. This was most likely a boss fight you could obtain a potential moveset from. Pretty cool since this could be similar to the No move from Heroes Battlegrounds, where it's a big enemy that spawns on the map and requires a lot of players to take it on. But then, a month after the Adam Smasher leak, we got a sneak for emotes coming to the game, a really good feature to add in the beginning since players have an excuse to grind for kills. But unfortunately, this will be the final sneak peek that would ever come out. The sudden halt of sneak peeks made players question if the game was being actively worked on. But if we check in sub announcements, we'll see that the sub announcements channel had a few messages leading up to the final sneak, but the most important one was one of the mods saying that the dev is working hard on the game and it would have a ton of stuff on release. And on the day of the final sneak, an image showing the official game title having Christmas lights was posted. So they were looking to release the game near Christmas time. I mean, come on now, why would they make a Christmas themed title if they were going to release the game post Christmas time? But that did not happen. For a month and a half, it was complete silence. No sneaks, no announcements, just cat videos being posted in sub announcements, which I gotta say, looking at this now, this was a much more tamer version of the Heroes Battlegrounds incident. You know, that one. The silence finally breaks when the dev posted in the sub announcements that he's working from a MacBook he got from college. Now, this would be fine, right? Obviously, he's focusing on real life problems like school. But a day after this, he turned off all the community channels like general media suggestions, everything that regular members have access to, due to the dev getting multiple messages like this. But thankfully he did say he'll open it back up soon, which should be really soon since they did make the game title Christmas themed, so they were looking at a release date in December, so we shouldn't have to wait that long to even get a release. After 93 days, silence finally breaks with the dev announcing a game that his friend made and you should go check it out. A long, lengthy message was posted in the events chat, a place that a lot of members flocked to since it was the only way they could talk on the server. You can pause the message if you want to read it yourself, but to put it in short, Roku paused the game's development a while ago to become extremely good at everything. He was only a scripter, but through multiple commissions, he was able to do VFX, animation, and scripting. He had a lot of funds that he would use to refurnish the game himself to avoid dealing with animators. This was not a public announcement since he wanted to lay low until he had good news for the game. He struggled with finding good animators and SFX artists, and zero progress is being done on the game, so he decided to do it himself and started learning the main parts of making a Battlegrounds game all by himself. But unfortunately, the farther you go down in the events text channel, the more you'll see Roku wanting to stick to making another Battlegrounds game and going with the idea that this game doesn't have a chance since there's not that many characters you can make from the show. And that would all come to an end with a message from Roku basically saying that this game was most likely not going to continue at all since the anime lacks fans and content to add to a Battlegrounds game, and since there's already competition, it was almost impossible to release a good Battlegrounds game with the Cyberpunk idea. And a little bit after this, he closed the events text channel and basically sealed the fate of this game. So yeah, that's what happened to Cyberpunk Battlegrounds. It didn't go off with a boom or had huge drama, it went off with a simple message in the events text channel. But while I was reading all these texts, I noticed both Roku and the community community are wrong in some way. So for the community side, you honestly have to see Roku's point that he could not find any good developers to help out on this game, and he doesn't have that much source material to make moves off of since the anime isn't based around fighting that much. But for Roku's side, you didn't say a word for 3 whole months. People will much rather hear what's going on with the game instead of waiting for 3 months just to hear the game was on pause and later you'll continue. Second, did the problem of not having that much source material to make a Battlegrounds game never occur to you when making this game earlier? Shouldn't that be the first thing you think of when making a Battlegrounds game? I'm pretty sure most people went into this thinking that you had a way to circumvent this. It just doesn't make sense that you didn't think of this sooner. Even if you did, you didn't conclude that you couldn't make that many characters since they don't really do melee moves or unique moves that separate them apart. Third, where did Cybernetic Eclipse and Hyperspeed Annihilation come from? Back then it seemed like you used your creativity to make moves, but now all of a sudden you can't come up with moves for characters even though you did before? Even when someone mentioned this, you didn't even respond to them at all. You only responded to the same user asking what's gonna happen to the ultimate moves like Cybernetic Eclipse if you ever decide on making a non-Battleground Cyberpunk game that's more based off of criminality. And you just responded with this. What about how you got the inspiration for these moves? What happened to your creativity? It honestly feels like these are two different people. One was passionate for his game and the other completely gave up. So yes, this game is dead. There's no hope for it ever coming back at all, to be honest. Hopefully I'm proven wrong and Roku does eventually finish the game, but seeing it now, that will probably never happen.